Alright, thanks so much for joining. So today I'm going to show you how you can create these really cute Hershey miniature labels. And this is what they look like. Again, these are for the Hershey miniatures. And what I did was, rather than removing the existing wrapper and foil and using tinfoil to reline it, I literally just put these wrappers over the existing and they turned out really cute. So really there's no need to do anything other than purchase the Hershey miniatures, make these wrappers, and then you can just again use a simple piece of tape on the ends in order to wrap these around, and they turned out pretty cute. And the other nice thing is, as people open them up, they can actually see what they're going to be eating versus if you take off the entire wrapper. So this is a pretty easy thing to do once you go ahead and create these printables. So I do have, before we go ahead and get started to make these, I wanted to point out that I do have a YouTube channel which has multiple different videos, and I do monitor the chat lines, and the recommendations to create this video came from those chat lines. So please, if you have any recommendations for new videos, let me know. And I do monitor the feedback. Also, if you do not know how to download and install new fonts, please watch this video, Searching Fonts, Installing Fonts, and Using Symbols. This will walk you through step by step how to search, download, and install new fonts. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do before we go to File, New Document, is we're going to actually grab a couple images that we really need to get started. What we're going to do is grab the background of this, of actually all three of these, and then we're going to grab the frames for these two. Okay, because these are not default sort of frames and or shapes that you find in Microsoft Word. So let's go ahead and go up here. I like to use Google. If you like to use Bing or Yahoo, feel free. But I'm going to type in pink trellis, and I'm going to go ahead and click on images up here. And here is the image I use. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do a save picture as. There we go. The next I want to do a search for green star pattern, and this is what I used. Now you see the Shutterstock on here. Again, we're going to be putting something over that, so you're not going to be able to read it, so you can use this just fine. If you want to go buy this from Shutterstock, feel free as well. Green star. And then finally, and Shutterstock is actually phenomenal. They have a ton of great graphics. We're going to type in yellow dots. And what I used is this one right here, and we're going to right click and do a save picture as. Yellow dots. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we actually want to grab these frames. So to find these frames, in other videos I've showed you how you can use fonts and symbols to create frames. This is another way of doing it. We can type in white clipart frame.png. Now the reason why I want to do white clip art frame, and I want all of these, is because I want this portion to be white, okay? Because it's an image, there's no way you can actually fill it in Word. So I want this part to be white, but I want the outside, the surrounding images, to be not white. So what I'm talking about here is, if you take a look at here, this image, do you see all the gray and white? That means that there is no white part on this. This is just the frame. So this trellis and this gray stripe is going to show behind this. What I want is something like this, where you see the white and you don't see this gray and white checkered in the middle here. This is going to be that nice white frame here, but you're not going to get these edges up here. And that's really what we want. So actually, I went ahead and clicked on this frame. If you go to related images, I use this actually quite often. If you find something very similar to what you want but not exactly, you can always click on related images and or view more, and you can usually find exactly what you want. And this is actually what I used. So we're going to do a save picture as, and we're going to do frame 1. Okay. And then finally we need to get this frame down here, and it's similar to this but not exactly, because again it doesn't have this white in the middle. It's clear. So we want this one, and this is sort of that white in the middle. And we're going to do a save picture as frame 2. All right. Now we have enough to get started. So we're going to go ahead and go File, New, Blank Document. We want to go to Page Layout, Margins, Narrow. And then finally we want to do Insert Picture, and we want to insert our trellis. Okay. First thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and click on Format, and we want to click on Crop, and we just want to crop this down because this is just way too big. Okay, and you can kind of crop it to however you want. We're going to actually make changes to this. So once you've cropped it a bit, you want to go ahead and click on Format, and then you want to go ahead and click over to this size. Okay, what you want to do from here is you want to uncheck lock aspect ratio, and you want to go to absolute, and you want to make this 3.15 and a width of 1.5. That's going to fit the miniatures. And again, very important to uncheck that lock aspect ratio. And then you press OK. And now you have a 3.15 by 1.5, which is what you need to fit the miniatures. Next thing we can do is go ahead and click on Format. We could do click Picture Border, and we could just do this nice sort of gray border, dark gray border here. Okay. Next thing we want to do is we want to insert a shape, and we want to insert a rectangle, and we want to put that right in the middle there. And we want to format this, and we want to do a shape fill of sort of this darker gray, whatever you like really. And we could do a shape outline of that dark gray. Okay. And you can move this around in a very fine-grained manner by selecting the object and using the arrow keys on your keyboard to move that around. That's what I just did. Okay, now finally what you want to do is you want to go up to Insert, Picture, and we want to insert our frame 1. And obviously this is really big and we can't move this around, so what we want to do is we want to right click and we want to say Wrap Text. We want to say In Front of Text. Now we can very easily move this around. Okay, and you see what I was talking about where it's white in the center but around the edges it's not? That is exactly what we want. Okay, and we can go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can see what we're doing here. All right, now all we have to do is insert a text box, and we can draw a text box and we can put it right here. And we want to click on Format for this text box and do a shape fill of no fill for that text box, and we want to do a shape outline of no outline. And we want to go to Home, and we want to make this Calibri Light, and we want to make this a 7-point font. And we're going to write happy, oopsies, we want to make this a 7-point font. Now we want to go down here and write happy 3rd birthday, and we can go to Home and we could center that, and then we can go down here, press Enter twice, there we go, and we could write Emily, and we want to go to Home and we want to center that. And the other thing we want to do is sometimes the spacing is a little off, so we can go ahead and click over, highlight all of that. And again, you want to ensure everything is highlighted and click over the line spacing options. And we want to do 0 and single spaced, and that should move that up and give us a little more to work with there, okay? Actually, we can do this. There we go. Now we want to insert another text box. Draw a text box, and we want to format this text box. We want to do a shape fill of no fill and a shape outline of no outline, and we want to write sweet, and we want to highlight this. We want to go to Home, and this is actually Great Day Personal Use. Again, if you don't have this installed, which I'm sure you don't, you do a search for Great Day Personal Use, free font, and then download and install that font. We want to make that an 18-point font. We can make this text box bigger. And we can center this, and then we can kind of just move this around. And then we want to highlight this, and we want to make this hot pink. If you wanted to find more colors, you could always go to More Colors and either click on there or click on Custom to get more colors if you don't have that hot pink. So that's how you make that first one. Let's go ahead and make that second one. Okay, we want to click over here, we want to go ahead and do Insert Picture, and we want to do green star, And we want to once again go here and say in front of text. Now we can very easily move this around. And we can go there. And then we want to click on format. We want to click on crop. And we want to crop that off. Okay. And then we want to go over here, click on format. We want to crop. And we want to, actually we don't need to crop that. We could just make this smaller. And once again, we can click on format. And this is again 3.15. And we could go over to here, again, undo lock aspect ratio and say 1.5. And there we have it. Okay, so now we have our second miniature. Or at least the outline, and then we want to click on format, and we could do picture border, and again we can do sort of that light gray or a little bit darker gray if you want. All right, now what we want to do is once again insert shape, and we want to insert this rectangle, and again we want to go right over that Shutterstock so you can't see it, and it also gives us a nice border. And we can click on format and do a shape fill of maybe this this dark gray, and we can do a darker gray shape fill. We can make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and again you can use the arrow keys to move this around. All right, now what we want to do is we want to do an insert picture, and we want to insert our frame 2. And that's a little big. First thing we want to do is do wrap text and say in front of text, and then the next thing we want to do is drag this and make it smaller. And again, I'm dragging the corner of this, I'm holding down my left mouse key, and I'm making this smaller. Okay, and we can go here and we can make this bigger this way and this way. And then from here we want to insert text box. We want to draw a text box, and we want to go all the way around here. We want to do a format, and of course shape fill of no fill for this text box, shape outline, no outline for that text box to get that to disappear. Class of 2017. And we want to highlight all of this, and we want to make this Calibri Light, 18-point fonts, and the 2017 is actually a different font. It is called fontdinner.com Sparkly. It was just kind of what I used. I thought it was kind of fun. And then finally, we want to highlight this. We want to click on format, and we want to go to text effects. We want to go to transform, and we want to have that going up. Okay. And we could kind of there we go. And we can kind of play with that till you get it to the way you look, how you want it to look. All right. Now we want to insert a text box. We want to draw a text box, and we want it to say cool. And we want to highlight this. And this font is A.R. Delaney, right over here. And that is a 22-point font. And we can go ahead and make this bigger. And once again, we want to click on format and do a shape fill of no fill and a shape outline of no outline for that text box. And then the other thing we want to do is we want to insert a symbol, and we can go to more symbols, and we want to go to the wingdings, and we want to insert a star. So you can just click insert, or you can double click in order to insert it. Okay, and this is probably over there, which is fine. We can do a right click and do a cut. And we can put this over here, right click, and we could do a paste. Okay. Now what we want to do is we actually want to make these stars much smaller, so we can go to home, and we can make this probably a 16 font, and we can make this a 16 font. And again, we want to make this yellow with a black outline. and we want to make this yellow with a black outline. And the coal I actually made blue. And if you wanted to, you could add a glow or reflection. I was kind of playing with that a little bit. I ended up not really liking any of them, but you know, you can do shadows and you can kind of play with that. And then finally, we can go ahead and insert our last text box. And we could draw a text box. Oops. We can insert our last text box, and we could draw a text box down here. And we want to write Newport High School. Okay. And we can highlight this, and we want to make this Calibri Light. And once again, we want to make this an 18-point font. And once again, we want to format this, and we want to do text effects, transform, and we want it to go up. Okay. And again, shape fill of no fill, shape outline of no outline to get rid of that text box. And we can make this a little bit bigger. And we can make this down. And there you go. That's how you make that second one. And then finally, let's go ahead and insert our picture. And let's go ahead and insert our yellow dots. And once again, we want to say wrap text in front of text. Now we can move this around. We obviously are going to want to make this smaller. And the other thing we're going to want to do is click on Format, and we're going to want to rotate this to make this, again, higher. And we can just kind of start playing with this a little bit, making this closer to what we want here. And we can click on Format, crop it, and then we can finally go to Format, and we want to click down here, unclick Locked Aspect Ratio, and we want to make this height 3.15 and a width of 1.5. And we want to, once again, format. There we go. Oh, and I apologize. That the reason why that didn't work is because I rotated the image. So if you rotate the image, what we're going to have to do is the opposite. Let me show you what I did and why that didn't work. Okay, click on Format. Let's go ahead and click on Crop, and let's go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller there. And now what we want to do is let's click on Format, and let's go ahead and click over here, and we want to lock aspect ratio. And what we want to do is we want to switch this, because again, we flipped it horizontally. But because you flip it horizontally, it's still going to recognize the height and the width of the original shape. So we actually want to make the height 1.5 and the width 3.15. There we go. And that's going to be a perfect candy bar wrapper. And again, we can click on Format and do a picture border of sort of this dark gray. And then finally, we want to insert a shape, and we want to insert a circle. I actually made this a little bit big. You could make it a little bit smaller. You could print it out, see if you like it, take a look at the picture again. But what I used for this is 1.38 and 1.38. But again, you might want to make it a little bit smaller for yours. It was a little big, but since that's what I used, I'm just going to stay consistent. And we're going to do a shape fill of white and that shape outline of that gray. And what we want to do is grab that mustache. So we're going to go back up here, and we're going to write mustache, and we want to do again .png because you don't want that white, and it's just this very first one. We're going to right click and do save picture as mustache, or must. And then finally, all we need to do is we want to insert a text box, draw a text box, and we want to format shape fill of no fill and shape outline of no outline. Then we want to say welcome, And this is once again that Great Day personal use. And the size of this is 14. Make this just a little bit bigger. And then we can right click and we can do copy for that text box. Then we can right click and do a paste. And we can highlight this and we can say baby. And the baby is actually Broadway. And it is also a 14, oopsies. Yep, is that Broadway? And this is all uppercase. I apologize. And then we can move that right over there. And then we can again right click, do a copy, right click, do a paste. And we could write Ashby. And the font that I used for this is Bodoni MT. And again, I did all of that in capital letters. And then finally, we want to insert a picture. And we could insert our mustache. And once again, we want to click on this mustache and do layout options in front of text. Again, multiple ways to do that. And we want to make this much smaller over here. And we want to move this right over there. All right, that's it. Let's say you make these labels and you want to copy and paste them to make multiple. Easy way to do that is press Control A, and that's select all. Then you hold down the CTRL or Control and press Control C for copy. Click out here, press the Enter key a few times till you get down there, and then press CTRL and then the letter V as in Victor. And now you have more. And again, if you want to do it again, Control V to get more. And that's how you can very easily copy and paste to make multiple of those. Anyhow, I hope you found this useful. If you did, please like this video and or subscribe to my channel. And again, I do monitor the chat lines. We would love to hear from you. Thanks so much.